Hello and welcome to Catch More Media. In today's show we travel south to the lovely Royal Berkshire Fishery near Windsor, where we join England Youth International Bradley Gibbons for a masterclass in targeting the recently stocked Ghost F1s on pole and feeder tactics. As per usual, we check out a couple of items of tackle that have had people talking, as well as keeping plenty of time free to frequent the on-site cafe, which has an awesome reputation for delicious home-cooked food. But first, I wanted to spend some time with Bradley, as the last 12 months have held some truly special memories for him. Brad, it's been an immense season for you last year. Obviously winning gold with England on the World Championships, winning the Thames Festival, and seeing Daiwa Dorking win the World Club Championship.
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant year. Lots of highlights and stuff like that. It's can't really complain, really. As much as I could have hoped for.
Definitely. I mean, in terms of your angling, which of those events did you enjoy the most, would you say?
Oh, it's hard to say, really. Obviously, Portugal for me, like that was my first year in the under-23s team. It was a new team, new anglers I was fishing with, new manager, Mark Downs, and yeah, to win gold with that was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. And then to see my team win, the team I fished for, Daiwa Dorking, win gold over there was immense as well. So
You're being very neutral here, aren't
you?
you?
You couldn't pick one, to be fair. It was both of them were, all of them have been brilliant. So yeah.
Excellent. Let's just rewind for those who aren't familiar with you, but I'm sure most people know. Your face seems to be in a lot of magazines, I've noticed.
Just a couple.
You actually got into specimen fishing before you got into match fishing, didn't you?
Yeah, no, we did. Like my dad used to take me, and we actually used to go to Gold Valley, but we'd be fishing for carp and stuff like that. So you'd be sitting there for like all day, maybe getting 2 or 3 bites and stuff like that. And in between, while I was doing that, I got into just fishing a whip, trying to catch roach because I'd get bored. And yeah, just sort of went from there. Started getting into a few matches, and then all sort of kicked off from there.
And you've caught some pretty special fish abroad, haven't you, in Spain and France?
Yeah, no, we've had some lovely fish. I've had carp in France up to £50 12 ounce. We had a grass carp in France, 39.8, which was just around 5 foot long. It was massive. And then been to Spain a few times on River Ebro, fishing for catfish, and had them. Well, I personally have had them up to £154. So yeah, no, they're quite big.
Not small then, are they?
No, they're not. But yeah, no, brilliant. Like same thing again, brilliant experiences. Still like very good, but I do love my match fishing. So
definitely. Something I do want to just touch on, Brad. Obviously, you're 19 years old, so a spring chicken in many people's eyes.
You could say that.
In that time, you've gone from not really having any sort of serious angling credentials in your family. Obviously, your dad fished, but you want a well-known match angler.
Yeah.
You've built yourself up to being a fully sponsored angler, a member of arguably the best team in the country, and also representing your country internationally. How have you done that? What do you say your secrets are?
It's hard to say, really. A big part of it for me is pretty much for people who help you along the way. I think you would have to say that because, I mean, from like when I started match fishing and I had people like Mark Goddard helping me and stuff like that, who actually helped me get into the proper like competitive side of match fishing and arguably got me into the Dorking team. And yeah, and then you move on and you've got people who help you with the international side of it, such as Callum Dix, Will Raisin, Stevie Gardner was a brilliant one for me. You spend hours on the bank with Steve and on the phone to him, and he just helped me to no end, really.
It sounds a strange question, Brad, but I know you're quite confident in certain ways. To a lot of people, though, the thought of going up to Will Raisin, Steve Gardner, and saying, "Excuse me, will you help me?" or "What have I done wrong?" or "What should I do?" is quite daunting.
I think for that, I've definitely got my dad to thank for that because my dad, like you said, it was never a match angler and stuff like that. So if I like at the end of a match, if I haven't caught or something like that, and I was always fishing against all the big names, I'd say to my dad, it's like, well, why haven't I caught, or what have I done wrong here? And he'd go, I don't know, go ask him.
Yeah.
So at the end of the match, just go up to him, tap him on the shoulder. He's like, how have you caught?
But the moral of the story is, and I've seen it myself with these guys, anybody out there watching this thinking, I want to be like this man. If you go up to people and ask them, it doesn't matter how big they are in terms of a name or a star, they do help you, don't they?
100%. And that's the biggest part of it, is having people to help you. And yeah, there's so many nice people in match fishing who will help you along the way. So, and a lot of the time, people who I've gone up to and didn't know from Adam and tapped on the shoulder and asked how to fish or what they've done, they're like long-lasting friends who I speak to every single week. So
Definitely. Another area where I think you've shone really in terms of success for your age, is you've got yourself a full sponsorship deal with Maver.
yeah,
But what a lot of people don't see, Brad, and I certainly do see as someone who's worked in the trade, is how hard you work for that. It's not just a case of you getting free tackle off them, is it?
oh no, exactly. You do have to work hard for it. Like it's all about doing features, making yourself available to help them out when you can. And biggest part of it now is social media, like representation on that. It's like, because everyone uses like Facebook or Twitter or something like that, and obviously I do my match blogs now, and it's just literally coming off as well as you can. And if people send you messages, replying to everyone and stuff like that, just as much as everyone's helped me out, like I'd hope that I can help some other people out as much as I can at the moment. So
Definitely. I'm going to ask you this, and it's a big question, so I'm going to go for it anyway.
go for it.
What's your angling ambition? You're 19, you've achieved so much already. What one thing would you love to do as an angler?
Definitely would have to say to represent my country at like an adult level.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm not deluded by, that I'd imagine to just happen for me. Obviously, it's how much effort you put into it, how much work you put into it, and whether it happens 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, I'd just love to do that. That'd be a big goal for me.
Well, I think you've got every chance of doing it, and I think you're a shining example to a lot of young people out there, Brad, so keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Can we go and have a royal pint of beer now and a curry?
I think it's only fair.
Very loud. Well, Brad, we're down at the lakes. You're all set up. We've just had the most amazing breakfast in the cafe.
Oh, it's very good.
But how you're going to fish, let alone move, is beyond me. It was quite substantial, wasn't it?
It was indeed, it was. Very nice.
Obviously, this is a venue you've sort of grown up fishing, Brad. Quite established lakes, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they are. They've been here ages. They're recently restocked. So yeah, no, they're definitely growing. So
excellent. And what do you expect us to catch today on here?
I'd expect to mainly catch Ghost F1s, the new fish that have been stocked in here. There's been a load stocked in, and I think as it's warming up, they're very hungry. And then we should catch an odd carp as well on a feeder, I'd imagine. So
that sounds nice. It's a great time of year. The water's starting to warm up. I've just been for a walk around the lake, and there are actually some big carp milling about under a tree around there.
Yeah, no, there's some right big carp in here, so it'd be nice to catch one.
Excellent. And this is Lake 2, isn't
No,
it?
this is Lake 3.
This is Lake 3.
3,
okay.
yeah.
So the 3 lakes here at Berkshire, are they all pretty much stocked the same, or?
No, this one's very different. Like I said, this one's recently been restocked with just these Ghost F1s. So there's a lot of Ghost F1s in here now. There is still a good head of carp. Silvers, I do silvers matches here all year, and they're very popular. The other lakes, however, don't have any F1s in. They're just predominantly carp and silvers, really. But the first lake's more of a specimen lake and has some big carp, probably over £30 in there.
So if people come into Berkshire and want to have a go at these Ghost F1s, it is this Lake 3 they need to sit on?
Exactly, and then if you want to fish for just carp, it would be one of the other 2.
Right, I'm going to go and get a coffee, then I want you to talk me through how you're going to tackle this peg today.
Sounds good to me. Right, I've got a very simple approach for how I'm going to tackle this peg today. 2 options really. I'm going to set up a little guru pellet feeder to the island, little hybrid feeder, sorry. And then I'm going to set up one pole line. On the guru pellet feeder, I'm fishing a tiny little one, I believe it's 24 grams, the smallest one they make. The reason for that is you don't want lots of bait in your pellet feeder. So this small one is literally just takes, if you squeezed them in, it probably takes like less than 100 micros, I'd imagine, which isn't a lot of bait. When you're fishing against far banks, especially for the fish we're fishing for today, these Ghost F1s, you're trying to get them to like feed in a frenzy. You get a ball of fish in your peg, you want them competing. So I think with this, just a few micros squeezed on top of that, and then your bait presented on top of that, I think that's brilliant. I think if you did use a bigger feeder, you'd probably have less bites. I just don't think it'd be as good. I personally want to almost starve them so they're competing for the little amount of bait that you've got out there. And then I think that results in more bites on this. Hook wise, I'm using a 14 gamma power hook, which it's not a small hook. It's not, I wouldn't say it's oversized really. I think it's quite a nice hook. Very sharp. Bait wise on that, you can be fishing 2 dead red maggots. Reason for that is I think if you fish banded pellets when you're fishing for these, I do think you miss a lot more bites because they're new fish and they've only got small mouths and they're very alien to everything. I think they do just sort of grab the pellet, you get a few weird little indications, lift up, there's nothing on, or you feel one and then it's off. I think fishing 2 dead red maggots is the best way of attacking it. That's really the feeder side of it. It's quite simple. I'm not going to fish too close to the far banks. I've been down here before, and if you fish close to the far bank, you do stand more chance of catching carp. However, these Ghost F1s do seem to sit just like a metre or so back, just like at the bottom of the far shelf. And I think that's the best way of fishing for them. Pole-wise, like I said again, very simple. I'm going to be fishing 13.5 metres in open water. And really, I've just been looking at the recent match results. The people who've been catching them most have been fishing it very much like you would for carp. From what I can see, these Ghost F1s don't actually feed like F1s. They feed a lot more like carp. They want a quantity of bait down there. Trickling in like 2 or 3 maggots and stuff like that just doesn't seem to work for them. So like I'm going to be attacking it. I'll be putting like 100mm maggots in there, and probably a decent pinch full of micros as well. So probably that many micros, and a proper handful of maggots will go in as well. So you create a big carpet feed. That'll be my pole line really. Topping up as quite regular seems to work well here, and then just that's about it. Rig wise, very simple. I've got a nice light elastic, which is Maver dual core 4 to 6. It's very light forgiving. We're in open water, there's no need to fish too heavy. You can hook them, throw your pole back, and then play them under your feet. With puller bungs you can fish as light as you want. I don't think we're going to hook anything but F1s there. Might hook a few skimmers and bream, but you want a light elastic for them anyway. Float wise, I've got one of my favourite floats to be fair. It's a Maver UFO Series 7 float, wire stem. I love these floats, they're really stable. As soon as they're in the water they cock straight away, and they just don't change throughout the day. Nice visible bristle, and they literally just do whatever you want from a float. In my opinion, one of the best floats they make. That's 0.2 grams. It's only around 4.5 foot deep, so don't need anything too heavy. Shot wise, just got 3 number 8s spread out around 4 inches from my loop, 4 inch, and then a couple of trimming shot. Always fish a few like real small number 13 shot. Always like to have at least 2 on my line, so if it's really windy I can take one off, my float will sit a little bit higher and I can read my bites. If it's flat calm like day, I can maybe put another one on and it will just sit dotted right down to like get pinpoint accuracy. I think especially with these F1s, they're very shy biters, so I do think you want very finessed here really. Main line's 014. I'm not a big one on fishing real light main lines, however I know some people do. I think it's more down to your hook length. Got a 6-inch hook length on here, it's 010 diameter, and it goes to an 18 B911 F1, which is probably yet again one of my favourite hooks. This rig is just something that I use all year, and it's never lets me down, so I can't complain. On the hook I'll probably be fishing single red maggot or double red maggot. If it got to the point where there was a lot of fish in my peg and I was fishing double maggot, then I might change to a 16 to 012, say, just to up a bit, but the rig would stay the same, elastic would stay the same. Apart from that, everything's the same. So fingers crossed, we're going to have a go now and hopefully catch a load of F1s.
One product that's really changed my world when it comes to elastics over these last few months has been this stuff. Preston Innovations DuraSlip Elastic Lubricant. Now I've never been a big fan of lubricant until this stuff came out, because I've always found it actually clogs your top kits up eventually and stops them working. But this stuff is very, very different. It's a water-based lubricant, and all I do, I apply 2 or 3 squirts down my number 2 and number 3 section before I start fishing. And you never have to reapply it. It works really well right through the day, and it dramatically improves the performance of your lighter elastics. I'll use this on anything lower than about a size 8. I tend to find higher than a size 8 you don't really need lubricant anyway if your elastics are set correctly, provided of course you've got a big bore top kit, which I use for all my fishing anyway. In terms of RRP, it's $5.99 a bottle, but as you can see, it's a fairly big bottle. I've been using this about 6 months now, I reckon, and I'm about a third of the way down, so it certainly doesn't break the bank and it will last you a very long time. It's available from all Preston Innovations retailers. That's it. Well, Brad, you've been fishing for about half an hour now, and you've got off to a fantastic start.
Yeah, it's getting stronger and stronger, getting a bite pretty much every single cast now, just a Ghost F1 every chuck, it's brilliant.
Now, I'm not going to lie, folks, he did catch a few squirrels while he was finding his marker, chucked it in the island a few times. But now, his feeder's landing in the same sort of metre square area every single chuck, and I do think that's a key part, Brad, to why you're catching so well, don't you? I
know it is, because even though we're not fishing tight to the island, you're still trying to get them in one area feeding. So you want them competing, you don't want them like moving about, you just want them in one spot.
Yeah.
So it's no different to if you were fishing on a pole. You wouldn't fish 2 different areas on the pole.
No.
So it's essentially, that's what you're doing. You're trying to get them competing as if you had them on the pole, and to be fair, they're just getting ravenous now.
What part do you think the right tackle plays in that though? I mean, you've got a 10-foot Maver rod there.
Yeah.
A fairly robust reel line?
Yeah, 6-pound reel line, 6-pound Maver Jurassic reel line. And I think it is just the rod. It's a 10-foot Maver Elite rod. We're fishing 25-30 metres. You don't need a big rod. Like usually you see people who turn up to a lake like this with an 11-12 foot rod. It doesn't matter because you can still get accurate, but to make it as easy for you as possible, like a 9-10 foot rod's perfect for this. You're more direct, there's no movement in the rod, it just makes sense to me.
Definitely. I think as well with a short rod, well, when you're catching smaller stamp fish, they come up closer to you and it's easier to net, aren't they?
Oh yeah, no, they do. Like these, because of, I mentioned it earlier, they've got such soft mouths that you do lose a few. And them popping up just here, you've not got to then draw them back. It just, everything's easier with a short rod on these little lakes. So everything seems to be working really well. Catching a load of fish on feeder, it's really good.
Brilliant. Now, I want to play devil's advocate here, Brad. I mean, obviously you sat on your own today on this lake. You're catching really, really well. The fish are competing well. What would you do if they weren't? What would you do if you took that feeder out and it didn't go round?
Right. If you're fishing in a match and your feeder doesn't go round, then you've got to try and do something different. You've either got to commit to one or the other when it's like this, because you're making fish compete. Yeah. So if you're not getting bites on a feeder, the only other thing I've set up today is a long pole. So you go on a long pole, hopefully you'll catch on that. Yeah. And then if you do catch on that, you commit to that. You've got to keep them feeding on that. The whole thing with them is as soon as you stop feeding them, they drift off. If I have a bloke sat there and he's chucking a feeder out every chuck, and and then I stop, all my fish just move over to him.
Yes.
They're hungry fish, they're competing, they're not just going to sit there and wait for you. So yeah, that's what I'd say. It's like you've got proper work at it.
Definitely. I mean, I've noticed today you've kept potting baiting on that long line while you're fishing the feeder.
Yeah.
So the plan will be when this slows down, you'll go on that?
Yeah, either when this slows down or when I'll have a quick look on that. If there's nothing there, I'd get straight back on the feeder so you don't lose them. But if they were there in numbers, then hopefully I'd be able to catch a load at 13 metres. And then you commit yourself to that and pretty much just fish that out. So fingers crossed there'll be a load there.
Brilliant. Well, have a few more chucks on this and then I'm looking forward to seeing you catch a few on the pole.
Fingers crossed.
Bradley doing such a sterling job in front of the camera, and my not so glamorous assistant Jordan Holloway also making a sterling effort to help me with the filming. It seemed only right to sneak off to the Fishery Cafe for another look at some of the delights they had in store. But it seemed my love of fine food hadn't gone unnoticed by the lads, even when I returned with a couple of treats for them. One of the best things about Royal Berkshire Fishery is the on-site cafe, and earlier on I mentioned the breakfast, but guys, I have just sourced us some rather nice looking cake.
Does
Jordan, you've been doing some great work on the camera today, so I think you deserve a piece.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bradley, fantastic angling display. I certainly think you deserve a piece. And as for me, I think it's no coincidence.
Big one.
You deserve your 4th piece.
So.
How many eaten on the way down here?
No, I haven't, you know me.
Just a few.
Well, Brad's been fishing just over an hour now, and after that great start on the feeder, he's dropped on the pole, and it's Wallachuk there as well. But from what I've seen, Brad, you've been quite careful in how you've primed that pole line.
Yeah, no, it's been slow and steady, but like still feeding large quantities. Like I said earlier, like putting 150mm maggots in, 50mm of micros, and stuff like that. Just missed one then, but yeah. And then just while you're fishing, just kindercupping in between 10 and 20 maggots at a time, quite regular. It just keeps like a steady flow of bait there. They definitely want quite a bit of feed there to actually like move around on.
It's interesting really, because that goes against a lot of conventional F1 tactics, doesn't it, where you might be kinderpotting in 3 or 4 pellets and sitting and waiting.
Oh no, it does. But yeah, no, I mean, that's similar to what I said earlier. It's like these at Ghost F1s, for whatever reason, they do feed a lot more just like carp. It's like they don't want to feed like on 2 or 3 maggots time. They want a proper carpet feed, and it's quite interesting to fish from like that. Got one on now. Definitely pull back a bit as well.
You say that, Brad, but it is interesting just how well that light hollow elastic you've got in there is working. I mean, it's not heavy at all, is it?
No.
It's guiding the fish back, and then it's the puller that does the work.
No, exactly. You get them in reasonably close, and then a couple of strips. You got power behind you, and then in theory it should just pop up.
Bit of swift network there, mate. I like that.
Did you like it?
The old scooping on the go, wasn't it?
Oh, it was lovely. But yeah, absolutely beautiful fish as well.
They're magnificent, aren't they?
Ah, min. Hooked
Look
in the
where it's
top
hooked.
lip.
Yeah, you can't get much better than
Spot on that, innit?
that. Absolutely perfect. So, why do you think then, out of interest, Brad, that feeder line died like it did?
To be fair, Tom, I think it's because they moved in on a pole.
Right.
I think where we're fishing, it's probably, if I was to hazard a guess, 25 metres wide.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm fishing probably 13, 14 metres out and you're putting quite a lot of bait in, I'm trying to bring them in closer so I think you can catch them quicker.
Yeah.
And I honestly think because your lines are within 10 metres of each other, they want to, because they're competing, they want to actually feed next to each other.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I think that's why personally.
Get back in and catch me some more, mate.
Go on then.
Well, Brad, I think it's fair to say it's been absolutely solid today, hasn't it?
We've had a few bites, you could say that.
I mean, I know you've come back on the feeder now, but that's only because 2 clowns went out on a boat over your pole line, isn't it?
Yeah, no, some people wanted to get some nice shots of me chucking a feeder out, so they just thought they'd pretty much drive a boat over me line.
Unbelievable how inconsiderate some people are.
It's mad, really.
But,
I think
that one on?
Yeah,
Oh, my word.
there's been a few on feeder.
I think the big thing I've taken away from today, Brad, watching you fish, is just how simple you keep everything. And now, I think that's the key to efficiency at this sort of fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you start faffing around with too many lines, you can't be quick, you just overcomplicate it, really. Oh, he's having a right old go in. There we go.
Definitely. But I mean, literally, it's been the little hybrid feeder over to the island, which has been a great method when the pole lines died.
Yeah.
And then the pole line's been Wallachuk as well when they were there.
Lovely. Yeah, no, the pole was absolutely brilliant at one point. Just putting it in, literally just no different to the feeder, putting it in and getting one every single chuck. So can't really complain. Had a load of bites, a load of fish, and a great day.
Awesome. Well, mate, we're going to put them back in a minute.
Yep.
But thank you very much for an excellent session.
No worries.
I understand you're doing a little bit of coaching this summer potentially.
Yeah, no, I could be, yeah. Be doing a little bit, yeah.
So if people are interested, what's the thing to do?
Thing to do is contact me either on Facebook. I've got my Facebook page, Bradley Gibbons Angling, or like if a lot of people either have my email address or telephone. So
excellent. Well, we can put the email address across the bottom of the screen now. So
there you go.
if you want a lesson from the man himself, you know what to do.
Spot on.
Thank you, Bradley. Let's get them fish back.
No worries. Thank you, Tom.
The sport at Royal Berkshire really is second to none, and it's easy to see why Bradley spends so much time at the venue. For his age, he's a remarkable talent, and I'd be very surprised if his dream of representing England at full senior level doesn't come true one day. Next week, we're back up north at the lovely Worsborough Reservoir just south of Barnsley, where we join Nick Speed for a lesson in long-range feeder fishing. Until then folks, tight lines.